Okay, we are back. Gridiron 360. Dave and Bill talking NFL free agency in the AFC. Just wrapped up the East and then the North. Now we move to the AFC South. And we will begin this conversation with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Currently sit at the number 9 pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. They are number 17 out of 32 teams with cap space, $26 million. We looking at needs for them: D-line, cornerback, wide receiver, tight end, offensive lineman. Now, we already mentioned that they put the franchise tag on Yannick Ngakoue, so he's shored up. Jacksonville also has brought in inside linebacker Joe Schobert from Cleveland, 26 years old, on a 5-year, just under $11 million a year with $22.5 million guaranteed. Other free agents on their team of note: inside linebacker Jake Ryan, Jeff Swain, their tight end, which we had talked, it looks like he's going to be walking, Tyler Shatley, guard, Hakeem Spence, D tackle, Najee Good, outside linebacker, Nick O'Leary, tight end, Carl Davis, D tackle, couple running backs, couple of linebackers, couple tight ends beyond those guys. So, last year, the whole little conundrum with Mr. Jalen Ramsey, sending him to L.A. Now, A.J. Boye, the other corner, which was those two guys really were solid for their defense. Now he's gone. Ngakoue wants to go. They locked him down on a franchise tag, which still could be a sign and trade deal. What do you think, man? I mean, this is a team that, one thing I'm surprised you don't have on there for needs, my friend, is quarterback.
Well, here's why. I'm not saying it's not a need, but I'm kind of trying to view this a little bit through the perception of Jacksonville. It is clear that they are considering the move on from the big move they made in free agency with Nick Foles, as his name is coming out there as a potential trade. And here's part of it is they've got cap issues. So while maybe QB, I think QB is something they're going to address in the draft. I think they have made it where they're not going to spend the money in free agency. One, because the market is starting to dwindle. The pressure is starting to come on with the signing of Bridgewater. It looks imminent that Rivers is going to go to Indy. Brady, it looks like it's a Bucks-Chargers scenario there. And everybody else kind of re-upping. They're going to have to, it would be the trade market, and they obviously can't play in the trade market because 3 of your big quarterbacks are in the trade market as far as name is concerned, and that's Foles, Dalton, and Cam Newton. I don't know if any of that gives them any more relief from a cap perspective. I think they're going to go with the mustache next year, and they're going to look to kind of start to turn the corner here. They have pretty much all but blown up this defense. I mean, while you got Ngakoue, they could re-sign him and try to spread out some of his money. I don't think they're leaving a really good taste in a lot of their players' mouths with the way that they're treating them. Again, you look at, a guy like Calais Campbell leaving, and obviously previously before that you mentioned Jalen Ramsey. I just don't see them going quarterback in the free agency market, and that's why I didn't list it. That doesn't mean they're not in quarterback trouble. It just means that I just don't think it doesn't make any sense that would be an area of focus when you're going to dump Nick Foles potentially. Now, problem too is they may not be able to dump Nick Foles.
Yeah,
if you remember, they gave him $88 million,
and
I think that was all guaranteed, like the Kirk Cousins, or it was very close to all guaranteed. So his cap hit is going to be enormous for whoever takes him on. And yet at the same time, here was a guy that was supposed to be the next guy for this team and spent the year hurt most of the year. So, is someone going to take on a guy that had one really good playoff series? I mean, let's not forget, this guy came into the league and failed in his first attempt with the Rams and then was dumped and then sat the bench behind Wentz and happened to get, a really good scenario with that team in the playoffs. and then he goes to Jacksonville and he spends an $88 million contract being hurt.
Yep.
So I just don't see them looking at that. I don't say it's not a need. I just don't think they're going to look at that as a quarterback potential. I think right now they're trying to shed salaries, blow it up, and restart. Again, tanking for Trevor.
Could be. Definitely could be. I mean, they're the disgruntled behavior by more than one player on that team is really a concern for me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's whether it's with management or coaching or ownership, it's just a concern for me. Because this is a team that when they came into the league, they were a team. An expansion team that did well for themselves under Tom Coughlin, made some runs and I felt like appeared to be like, a solid team, not, someone that could give you fits.
Remember, in year 2, this was a team came in with Carolina that was in it could have been Carolina and Jacksonville. In the Super Bowl in year 2.
Yep. And, and then they went away from that. And then, you have the Shad Khan buying out the team and, and they making it to the AFC Championship game. And a lot of that rode on the defense. It didn't matter that they didn't have a very good offense or receivers or a quarterback or a running game. Even when they went a couple of years ago, they had Fournette drafted. I think he might have been injured.
Yep.
But it was the defense. And now it's, all these pieces, especially the main parts of it, and the best pieces are gone. And, those that aren't, it's just, it's not I don't get a feeling of any sort of comfort. Like, why do they all want to go? Why? What's the problem?
Well, I mean, here's kind of the thing:
why is Yannick Ngakoue not happy? I mean, like,
no, they wouldn't re-up him. He wanted money. They couldn't re-up him. I think they did something. They put themselves.
But I feel like even if
cap
they
hell.
did re-up him, it's still going to be this disgruntled behavior.
Well, because I think part of it is like if you remember, for all the garbage that Jalen Ramsey gets, and not saying some of it's not deserved. He's a talker, but he's a talker on the field. If you really looked, but if you looked at the actual discussions that happened in social media about him, he said very little. And one of his biggest complaints was he was upset that he wasn't getting the big contract. But if you look, he never came out in social media and said anything. And all of a sudden things started leaking from the team. And when Khan came back and said, look, we really want to sign Jalen Ramsey when it got ugly, Jalen Ramsey's first kind of public comment as it related to that was, you guys kind of did too much damage. You guys got this out in the media. He goes, look, I never said anything about this out in the media, and didn't do that. And it was true. Like, if you looked at it, there was no, you didn't see these Twitter rampages and this, I'll take on all comers. Look, we know Ramsey's a talker, but Ramsey's a talker on the field, and you can't deny what he told people, I'm going to shut you down, and he turned around and did it. And truthfully, he was doing that in college. So he was very talented. I think it's some of that. I think they probably let things leak out in the press too much. And I think now it's like you kind of see the Titanic sinking, and it's like, well, why am I going to, if you had a chance to get on one of the lifeboats, why are you jumping back on the Titanic? I think that's kind of how these defensive guys feel.
Okay, but I mean, what happened to those guys that were, that didn't matter so much? I mean, like, since when is the NFL becoming like the NBA where they got to be all with these great, like, build something, make a name for yourself, man. That,
Yeah, but who didn't? Like, think about it. Give me an example. Like, Jalen Ramsey didn't control where he got traded. He didn't say I had to go to like the Rams. And let's be honest, the Rams were already sinking themselves.
Now, let me look at a rundown some of the players they got. Keep in mind, they have their first round pick from last year was Josh Allen, the defensive end from Kentucky.
Yep.
Okay. They have R.B. Jones, nose tackle Marcel Darius was brought over from Buffalo.
Yep.
Calais is now gone. Quincy Williams is a linebacker. Miles Jack, they still have at linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, Jack and Schobert are going to be their centerpiece of their defense.
Leon Jacobs at linebacker. Trey Herndon, they have a corner. Ronnie Harrison at strong safety, and DJ Hayden will play the other corner position that was brought in from Detroit.
Okay.
Detroit. Okay.
But understand, we're not that far removed from a defense that had Calais Campbell. Who was the other guy? They had a tackle, and I'm blanking. I can picture him. But, and you had a linebacking core that had Telvin Smith. Remember, I mean, he abruptly kind of didn't retire but walked away from football 2 years ago. Telvin Smith was a Pro Bowl linebacker before they had. And then they had drafted Miles Jack, who came out with an injury but was, kind of like that Jalen Smith. Could he recover from that? And they had corners. They had A.J. Bowie, and they had Jalen Ramsey. I mean, this is a team that was built, and I think there's been a shift. I don't think they're quite the nightmare, but, let's be honest. You see it in teams a lot. There's an old guard and there's a new guard, and the team's ability to transfer slowly from the old guard to the new guard are successful, but sometimes you see it where you got this level of players, they think they're championship level. I'll use I love my Bears as an example. The Bears held on to Brian Urlacher, Lance Briggs, Charles Tillman, all very good in their prime and all very good together, but they held on to them at the end, and Brian Urlacher was significantly slower. Lance Briggs got lazy because they tried to transform that and bring in these new guys. I mean, they had at the DN spot, they had the guy they got from Miami, Agunlie, and they had Alex Brown.
Odewale.
Yeah, all of those guys kind of they held on to those guys too long. I look at the Atlanta Falcons holding on to that. Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman. You and I agree. They're holding on to all these guys, and they re-up Matt Ryan, and they held on to him too long. And now look at what they're suffering. So I think you might be seeing some of that, and you're seeing this influx of new guys, but here's the whole problem. Think about this. This team went and played the New England Patriots for, 3 years ago? 2 years ago? 3 years ago.
3 years
Played New England Patriots for the NFC or the AFC title game.
Mm-hmm.
And what were they? They were very simply one shitty quarterback in Blake Bortles away from being a Super Bowl.
Again,
they would have been the winner of the Super Bowl had they had even if they would have had a Teddy Bridgewater, they would have won it by a country mile.
Yeah.
But you watch now that fell apart, and I'm not going to be surprised to see a disgruntled guy in Leonard Fournette. This offense is a mess.
Well, I mean, they do
have
have
Allen Robinson.
And that room is, I'm looking at their depth chart now, that is a hefty running back room. I mean, nobody of real name, but you got behind Fournette is Raquel Armstead. Okay, he's somewhat of a name. Then you got Divine Ozigbo, Jeremy McNichols, Devontae Mays, who I think is free agent, Taj McGowan. So they've got this mess of running backs. They don't all need all these guys. Of course, we talked about Foles and Minshew. Their other quarterback is Josh Dobbs. No offense, Tennessee, but that guy's not going to be I don't even think he's that great of a backup in the NFL. They do have Shaq Hennessy at tight end,
but injured, coming off an injury.
And they have Jeff Swain now.
But they're letting him walk.
Then they're gonna let him walk. AJ Cann at right guard, he's pretty good. Jawan Taylor at right tackle, he's all right. Brandon Leonard at center. Andrew Norwell at left guard, he's all right. Cam Robinson left tackle, he's all right. Of course, you got this mess of wide receivers. Now they hit nicely on DJ Chark, but you got D.D. Westbrook and Keelan Cole, who knows who's who. They bring in Conley last year from KC. They still got Marquise Lee.
All right, so here's my question for you, though. Okay, so you just said your wide receivers. Who scares you?
DJ Chark
doesn't scare me. I like him, but let's be honest. What DJ Chark, to me, put him as a number 2 receiver or even a number 3. Now we're cooking with gas here.
I don't know about 3, but maybe a number 2.
Who
scares you? Leonard Fournette.
Which
helps them.
But does Leonard Fournette scare you? Does Leonard Fournette scare you if you can put 8 and 9 guys in the box? And that's the whole thing. Is I look at this. I mean, think about it. This is a team that had Allen Robinson, and I'm going to tell you, Allen Robinson isn't living up to his skills in Detroit, and not because he's not good. It's because Chicago is not living up to his skills in Chicago because the quarterback sucks. I'm going to tell you right now, you put Allen Robinson on any decent quarterbacking team, that guy's 1,500 yards easy. Guy catches everything. He is tough as nails. He has recovered from his knee injury. But my point is, they had guys like that. That's who they had. And watching that fall apart is a shame. But I look at it now, and let's be honest. By the time Jacksonville gets right, what's Leonard Fournette going to look like in 3 years?
He's not.
So they've got to restart this.
I think they have. I mean, when I look at the offensive line, I think they have some pieces there that could be all right.
Yeah.
I just think that they lost a couple, and it was only, a couple, 3 big pieces here, a couple pieces on that D, and they need to kind of bring, and they have pieces on their D, I think, but you need to bring in a couple game changers for those game changers you lost.
Listen, they're at number 9. If I'm them, with all the things they need, I'm probably going wide receiver, and I'm getting Jerry Jeudy or I'm getting CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah,
and
maybe
you got to if you're going to get this quarterback something to work with.
But they also have number 20 from the Rams.
Oh, that's yep.
In the first round.
Sorry, they have number right. So you can still get a very good impact defensive player at number 20. I would be all over that. Or do you want to delay do you feel there'll be a T. Higgins there available? You could do that. But my point is I'm going to go get a receiver, and I'm going to go get somebody that's going to help try to change my defense. Maybe at 20, maybe if there isn't a push early for like a Derek Brown or that Limbaugh kid, one of those maybe could be available. I would love to go get that. I think the point is it's a changing of the guard with this team.
Okay, 60 minutes. We've been doing these pretty quick. Okay, so I'm going to pose a question to you. Number 9. Okay.
Wrong!
Suppose they sit at 9, and for some reason or another, Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa are sitting there. Suppose they are.
Oh, I mean,
even just one of them.
I don't know about.
Do they then at 9?
I don't know about Herbert, only not because I don't know about him personally. I'm just, again, trying to be in the mind of Jacksonville. I got Herbert, to me, has got to have a really strong pro day, which I expect him to have, because I think that's going to bump his draft status. But, of course, the problem then becomes if it bumps him, does all of a sudden that 7 and 8 pick, you got the Chargers out there. You got Miami wanting to. So you got some people that want quarterbacks.
I didn't ask that. I said if one of those guys, depending on how things go, happens to still be there at 9, do they go ahead and pull the trigger on a quarterback now?
I think given the fact that you have a decent offensive line and you've got a running back, yes. Simplest terms.
See,
yes.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Because,
now, Tua won't.
Only because
they both won't
they sit at 9, okay? They're not up in the top 5, but they are top 10. And with a number 20 pick also in the first round, if they desired, they might be able to put some sort of deal together and jump up a spot or 2 in front of Miami if all of a sudden they see like they're getting to pick 7 and Tua and Herbert are still there, not picked. They could be like, maybe we can move up a slot.
Here's the only way I'm going to say that they wouldn't take that if that scenario was to play out, or shouldn't take that if they can't get rid of Nick Foles, because this is even at 9, it's an expensive draft pick, and all of a sudden your quarterback room is loaded with dollars. And if Nick Foles isn't valuable this year, I'm not sure how valuable he's going to be next year.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm going to assume Nick Foles gets traded because I think they're actively doing it. And that's a big assumption, but I'm going to assume it. Yeah, I would. But I'm also going to assume I think there's a high likelihood that neither one of those guys is there, and I would not go Jordan Love there. I would not go, and Jacob Eason isn't even a first rounder in my mind. Is he going to go in the first round? Could, but he's not in my mind. So if I'm them, I'm going wide receiver. I am getting a Jerry Jeudy, or I am getting, I honestly, in their role, I'd rather have him have CeeDee Lamb. I want a little bit more size outside. They got all those little run around kind of receivers, and none of them are great. I don't believe in D.D. Westbrook.
Keelan Cole. I mean, the consistency is lacking. You'll see them have good games, but throughout the majority of the season, they're under 50% to have games of consistency where they're putting up numbers that are, and they don't have to be through the roof, but they're putting up a 6-7 catch game for 80 to 100 yards consistently, maybe a touchdown every other game. We're not seeing that out of them. Now, Chark did come on the scene, but I agree with you. I mean, I think he could be better served. I don't think 3, but if he was a number 2 with a big number 1, I think that would be really good for him. But he was still able to get it done regardless with quarterback
I'm not
rotation
saying
there
I'm
because
not
of
saying
injury.
he's not good enough, but because I think the rest of their wide receivers are so not scary
Well,
that
sooner
it
or
puts so
later,
much pressure
yeah.
on a guy that's really not. He's not physically built to be a go get it kind of receiver. He's not a true number one in build in that sense. He doesn't have that Nuke Hopkins body control, but he's far more dangerous than what he got credit for. I'm thinking about this team as what would make them very good. And to me, it's there. And I think they've got to do something at corner. Maybe they can pick up one of these guys later in free agency again, you're talking about a major drop from Jalen Ramsey. And when they got AJ Bowie, people thought they had two of the best three corners at that time in the NFL. Now they don't now because AJ Bowie is not
as great
as
as
talented as he was,
right? Ago, but he's still pretty damn good,
right?
He's still upper.
Well, they traded for him. They traded Denver. Denver gave
echelon.
up for him, so hey, like it's legit. So
so they try to go get Chris Harris back from Denver.
Potentially. I mean, it's still because there's a lot. Again, the other part is some corners are starting to come available on the market that were not that are not necessarily free agents,
but just because cap casualty.
I mean, I'm not saying this for Jacksonville, but I mean, you still have a guy like Darius Slay you've heard nothing about, and Detroit's still considering moving him. So there's some talent out there, at which it just makes these other free agents a little bit looser on the market.
Okay, good. All right, so good. Jacksonville. We will move on to Indianapolis next.